Everyone to This Week in Svelte, episode 129. Last week I was not here, I had stuff to do, but we can recover now, and we have a bigger changelog for today, so like that's always nice. I'm wearing headphones because later on we will probably also be joined by a guest that it will showcase something very cool that happened in the Svelte ecosystem. So let's jump right into it with Svelte 5.48.1, which has one fix, which is hoist snippets above const in the same block. So this was just like a minor annoyance, but basically if you, like snippets technically are like, I think about snippets just like I think about functions. So like I would expect the same behavior. So like a function in JavaScript, when you declare it, gets hoisted to the top. That's not true for snippets, actually. Like in the real code, they are not functions. They are kind of, but like they are not function declarations, so they are not hoisted. Which means that you could have created some like weird situation where you were trying to access a snippet inside a const block, and the const block were declared before the snippet, and so this fixes it. So like it's hoisting the snippet above the const in every block, so that you could like preserve, like you could actually access them inside a const block. Properly hydrate await in add HTML. So there was an issue with hydration and add HTML. So like if you were using add HTML, it was actually just failing, like in async. It will work anyway because like we recover from failed iteration, but like you will get a nasty error, and that's not nice. Batch resolution of async work. I think this was just a PR, like there was a performance regression at one point, and basically like there was a lot of work to fix this performance regression, specifically around derives and stuff like that. So like I can't remember if this is actually the into several PRs so that you can review. Oh no, this is actually different. So like extract parts of perf regression. Yeah. So like there was this regression, and there's actually huge shout out to one moment. Yeah, to HMND, which is actually doing a lot of, like, it opened a lot of PRs recently in the Svelte repo to fix a bunch of like hydration and performance in async, which is very, very nice. And he also seems to be very knowledgeable. So like shout out to him. And this is just an extraction of that part. So I don't know why it's lagging my computer a bit. I don't know. That's fine. Let me. Is this OrbStark? I think it's. Yeah. Let me quit OrbStark for. This is Docker. So probably that's what's slowing down my computer. I guess. I don't know. So yeah, there was basically. Like this kind of stuff, it is very annoying because, like, as you can see, it's a matter of like small little things, like queue a micro task before doing it, and all of these can like really impact performance, and that's a bit annoying. So account for empty statement when visiting in transform async. Oh, this was actually a PR that I did. So basically, the point is when we transform the async, like when you're using async, we transform your code differently, right? And the issue was that when we were visiting snippets, if I'm not mistaken, sometimes you just return an empty node, like and in the code, there was no handling for the empty nodes returning. I don't know, like, can you see me? Because I'm getting an error from YouTube. I hope you can see me well. Let me do... I think you can see me well. Please let me know if you don't see me well. And let me do very quickly this. I'll completely close VS Code, which usually takes a huge chunk of my performance. I don't know. I'm getting a bunch of. Okay, you can see me very clear. Okay, let's continue. Avoid async overhead for already settled promises. So this was another performance optimization that Rich did, if I'm not mistaken. And let me also remove. Can I? I cannot. Okay. Come on. Sorry, guys. I'm doing allow. I'm doing a bunch of stuff. So avoid async overhead for already settled promises. So like. The point is, we are doing like, if there is a promise that it's already settled, it will still. Okay, I'll stream down. I don't know what's going on. Can you see me now? I think now it should be better. I think there was a moment where like everything went berserk because I was closing VS Code and probably got a huge hit, but you should be able to see me now. Please tell me if that's not the case. Okay, it's good now. So avoid async overhead. This basically it's just like sometimes there are each child of each block within an async boundary would go through the whole $async process, even if the parent promise has already settled. So again, this is huge shout out to HMND, which did a bunch of work around the async Svelte. That's very, very nice. Yeah, a lot of comments on this kind of stuff. There's a huge work around this thing, but okay. Better code generation for const tag with async dependencies. So like I think once again it's a small change in the way the code is generated. So like if you are doing something like this, we get an unnecessary middle promises. So like so there is another promise that is not actually useful because it's awaiting for the promise above, I think. Like, yeah, it's basically what this is doing is that it's saying that actually I don't know what's going on. I guess, yeah, it's very difficult to follow, but regardless, now it's not there anymore, so like that's good. Let's move on. Export weight function from internal client index. So this is just like in one of these PRs, there was a new weight internal API that was unfortunately not exported. So like this was completely broken for everybody using that function, but we now exported it and fixed it. Hydration failing with settled async block. So this PR, like as I've said, changed a lot of the async stuff, which generally when you change a lot of stuff, you get an influx of bugs about that. And this was actually one of the issues. So like, given that it also changed how like hydration works around async block, it was making hydration failing in some cases. Add pointer and touch event to accessibility non-static element interaction warnings, because like if you are trying to add, I don't know, an on-click on a div, Svelte will actually yell at you to say, hey, you should not put this on a static element. And the same thing is for pointer and touch events. So now it's actually warning also for that. Handle false dynamic component in SSR. I guess this is for, I was not actually following this, but I suppose oh, okay, so like this could be a faulty component. In SSR it was like failing because it was not actually checking if this is false in SSR again. So yeah. Avoid unnecessary block effect reruns after async work completes. Avoid using dev mode array.includes wrapper on internal array checks. Okay, this is, I think it's interesting. So this is something that is only in dev mode. So like the dev mode warning wrapper on array.includes induces significant performance penalty on some hot paths in Svelte internal. So like inside Svelte, we are checking something with array.includes, and if it is a proxified array, so like some stateful variable that you are using, this was adding a bunch of it includes source.includes, and so like this, it was just in dev mode, so like there was a small performance regression in dev mode, but now it's also fixed. Again, once again, HMND, shout out to him. Avoid duplicating escaped characters in CSS AST. So like when we parse the CSS AST, you now get the, like you can, like there's no escaped characters anymore. So like if you were escaping a character, it was duplicating it, and now it's not anymore. Run boundary on error callbacks in a microtask in case they result in the boundary destruction. So in case the on error will destruct the boundary, if you don't do it in a microtask, it was causing basically like trying to destroy the boundary while the boundary was still active because it was invoking the on error. Which, if I'm not mistaken, it was causing basically the boundary to always stay on, even if yeah, basically, like if you had a situation like this where the mere fact that you had an error was meaning the destruction of the Svelte boundary, it was basically stay on. So like it was, the whole block was still visible, and this actually led to something pretty interesting, because it was basically showing it was basically showing this as false, despite the fact that this should have been within an if guarding it. So the solution was to run it in a microtask. Prevent unintended export from namespaces. This is something very interesting. So like we found out about this because of a very cool project, which is an npmx.dev. So like if you don't know about this, this is basically a mirror for npm browser, it's a browser for the npm registry. There is a huge community behind it. Daniel Rowe, which is the lead developer at Next, is building it. So unfortunately, it's built with Vue, but Svelte is also there, obviously, as a package on npm, and we are also the most liked. Because you can also log in with your Blue Sky account and which, by the way, it's a bit buggy because I was actually the number 2 on here, but now I cannot like it anymore. I think probably I cannot like it because I already liked it, but it doesn't show the red for me. I don't know what's going on. It's open source, so I might actually contribute to this to fix it. But yeah, it's very cool. You can see the docs, which are auto-generated. And it was exposing stuff that should have not been exposed because like of how we package our types. So this basically fixed that. Each block breaking with effects interspersed among items. I am 80% sure that this is a word that Rich wrote. No, it's actually HMND. So he's also apparently a language nerd. And I guess it was the single advance at the start of the loop fixes the sample.pr. Okay, so this is probably about hydration. So that's nice. Let's move on. We have a minor change, which is allow passing shadow root init object to custom element shadow option. And shadow root init is basically like I don't know if it's like it's a global type. It's a type that you have available inside your inside the browser, and specifically it should be init. I can't remember, but basically, like, yeah, it's a browser level API, and when you do element dot not shadow root open, probably, I can't remember, but basically I guess we can go to the TypeScript playground to see what's going on, what it is. So shadow root init add. Can I do stuff like this? Let's do function x shadow root init. And so if I do x, we can see, yeah, you have all this information that you can pass, and now you can also pass those information to Svelte. And I should probably zoom in a bit. You can pass all this information to Svelte. when you are creating a custom element. So like you can do mode, and this should be either closed or open. You can do clonable, you can do custom element registry, delegate focus, serializable, slot assignments, and stuff like that. And now you can pass to the object to the custom element shadow option. Okay. Fix throw for unset create context get on the server. This was like a silly thing, but create context is a brand new API in Svelte. Recent API, I don't want to say brand new. We have a lot of stuff, and it basically allow you to do stuff like this: import, create context, for Svelte, and then you get basically create context. This is basically mostly for TypeScript. So if I do lang is equal to yes, you can specify the type of the context, string, and this will give you a getter and a setter. So getter and a setter, and this is to get the context, and this is to set the context, and they are properly typed, and you don't have to deal with the whole key, like string key shenanigans that you have to do with get and set. However, there was a problem, and the problem is that if I try to do getter, const x is equal getter, this will throw at runtime. You can see missing context. Context was not set in a parent component. And the reason for this is because like you are trying to get a context that no parent ever set. So obviously I can fix it like this by doing setter blah blah, and this will fix it, or someone from the parent can set, and then you can read it. The problem was that on the server, like the function that we use on the server to create the context, when you're building a server component, it was not throwing, which means that you would get undefined here and it will not throw. So that was a bit annoying, and so we fixed it. Reset effects inside skipped branch. So once again, basically like there are some effects, some branches that are skipped, so like they are not executed if you don't have to, like this can happen either if you have like if you have multiple async work going on. There are some branches, which branches are the effect that actually write to the DOM in your inside your, like we create a branch effect when we want to write to the DOM in a block, basically. So like the if block, the branches are the things that are like inside the if, it's handled inside a branch effect. And if there's some async work in some particular stuff, those are skipped because we don't want to show them before all the async work is resolved. But the effects inside those skipped branch were not reset, and so they were never re-executed even after the branch was actually shown to the DOM. It's a bit complicated, sorry. Fix, preserve all dependencies when updating reaction inside a fork. So if you were updating a reaction, so if you were updating a derived basically inside a fork, the old dependencies, so like the dependency before the fork happened, were not preserved, and now they are. More conservative assignment values stale warning. Oh, I actually didn't know about this. This was oh, okay, so like it's not in like, because this assignment value stale was like all the rage recently, because people were mad about the fact that they were getting this error. But it was also firing Yeah, for stuff like that. Oh no, sorry, this is a completely different warning. So, okay. But basically, like if you were doing stuff like this, node.style.opacity is equal to match.random. Oh yeah, this was completely broken actually, because basically like this. Oh no, okay, back up. So just as so like the reason for this warning, let me explain the reason behind this warning. So when you do stuff like this in a function, when you have function update node.style.opacity is equal to match.random, right? But you are returning it. So when you do return and then an assignment, I don't know if you know about this, but let's say that we open the console and let's say that I have const, actually let x is equal 43. Let's say that I do let y is equal x is equal to 42. What do you think is the value of y? And spoiler, the value of y is actually 42. The reason for this is because when you do x is equal to 43, you can see that you are logging something here. And the reason we are logging something is because an assignment expression returns the value of the assignment. So like the value of x in this case. And so like in a situation like this, this would basically return node.style.opacity. And so, however, there is a problem. When you do stuff like this in a certain situation, basically, specifically when you are assigning to a proxy, I think, yeah, that should be it. Like when you're assigning to a, like when there is a proxy here assigned, the assignment will evaluate to the right-hand side, so to this part here, not to the value of opacity following the assignment. So this is because of a weird quirk of how because basically when you return like it's a weird quirk of the browser and how Svelte transformed the code. But like the real thing is that for this case, it doesn't actually matter. Like for this case, you will get back the value after the assignment. The only moment you don't get that is in a specific case. Specifically, is a specific issue around state proxies. And so basically this is a more conservative approach. So like it only uses sign transformation in cases where the right hand side could be an object, and inside our assign we only warn if the assignment caused a property to become a state proxy. So that's where it's actually returning the wrong value back, and so this fixes the warning. So we actually really warn when you have the problem. Disregard popover elements when determining whether an element has content. So if there is a popover, I assume that this is about CSS. Oh no, I'll consider explicit label warning when a button contains only a popover element. Since popover elements are hidden from accessibility tree until triggered, a button containing only a popover appears empty to screen readers. This change ensures that compilers ignore popover elements when checking for content, correctly triggering the warning. So like if you only have a popover inside a button, you should be getting this warning, the consider explicit label. Because if you only have a popover inside a button, the button will technically be empty until it's actually opened, the popover. Okay. Fire intro start, auto start events after delay if specified. Okay, that's nice. So like intro start and outro start are actually the events that you get when a transition start. And if you specify a delay, before they were fired immediately and now they are fired after a delay, which is nice. Increments signal version when discarding forks. So basically this is just like we internally use a version for every signal, and this version is used to determine if that signal has been read or written to before another dependency. So like this is all a bit of a complex keeping track of if a derived is dirty or not using these versions. And the problem was that when you were discarding a fork, the version was increased, but then it was never decreased if you discarded the fork. Or actually, it does not need to be decreased, but it needs to be increased once again, so that it will be out of sync with the effects, for example, that run within a fork. So yeah. Let's see, we have merge consecutive large text node. That's interesting. So like, I assume that this is inside the template. So browser automatically split text node exceeding, see, okay. This is actually like, I think, yeah, if there is a text node that exceeds this length, there was an iteration mismatch. And the reason for this is because, as the PR suggests, browsers automatically split text node exceeding this amount of characters into multiple consecutive text nodes during HTML parsing. So when we loop over, like when we do iteration, we basically do, like we march the DOM. So like we say, okay, you have a div, inside a div there is one text node that I know of, so like give me the text node and then give me the div after the text node, for example. The problem is that if the browser automatically split these nodes, the problem is that when you do sibling, instead of getting a div, you get a text node, and you cannot like apply style to the text node, for example. Okay, so during iteration, so this is done at runtime, I would have guessed at compile time. During iteration, if the current node is a text node exceeding that thing, it will be merged into one single text node. That is some very weird, like the browsers are very weird. Only create a sync function in SSR output when necessary. So this basically in the SSR output, we were eagerly creating async functions, even if the output was not, like if the content was not necessarily using a weight. So this fixes it. Properly separate multi-line HTML blocks from each other in print. Okay, so print is actually the very nice function where you can have an AST in and you get the string. Nice. Prevent unhandled exception arising from dangling promises in script. Okay, so like if there is a promise that never resolved in the script, there was unhandled exception, I guess. Nice. And also shout out to Antonio Fio4Fi, because he got his first contribution on screen right now. I don't know which one it is, but shout out to you for contributing to Svelte. Okay, let's move to chore removes SvelteKit data attributes from elements.d.ts. So this is something that, like in SvelteKit, there are some data attributes, like you can have data out of, like data SvelteKit autofocus, if I'm not mistaken. keep focus, so that when a form is submitted, you will only in get you will get the focus on the element itself. There are a bunch of I can actually show them. So like, let me do svelte.dev slash, if we go to the kit, I think I can search for data, SvelteKit, yeah, advanced the link option. Like you can have data SvelteKit preload data on a link, or you can have data SvelteKit, what else? Preload code to preload the code. Data SvelteKit reload, so that when you click on a link, it will actually navigate without client-side navigation. Data SvelteKit replay state. So like you can do a bunch of stuff with these attributes. And obviously, without the typing inside elements.d.ts, you would get an error if you tried to use those on an element, because those are not accepted, basically. But now we actually managed that into SvelteKit, and so we removed it from. Actually, it's not that you will get an error, because data dash is always allowed, but inside, we want to get you actual autocomplete for those. But now we handled that inside SvelteKit, and so we removed it from Svelte. Avoid erroneous async derived expression for blocks. Okay. Blocks, once again, are like the if block, the each block, the stuff like that. So those are the effects that we create that then create the branch effect to actually mount the DOM to the DOM. Avoid Cloudflare warnings about not having the node crypto module. And I want to open this one because it's very, it's funny how we did it. Because basically in Cloudflare, if they inspect your code, and if there is a node crypto, they will yell at you and give you a warning. And so what we did is that node plus crypto, and that fixes it. Now, to be fair, it's a warning that is not really useful, because on Cloudflare, global this.crypto is actually a thing. So like this will never be imported, but the static analyzer will still yell at you. So reschedule effect inside unskipped branches. So like if there is a branch and you unskip it, so like if you now say, okay, I need to not skip it, effects inside that branches were not being rescheduled. Okay, that's it for Svelte. Let's see SvelteKit. We have one new release 3 days ago with a bunch of stuff actually. So ensure inline CSS follow path asset and path relative settings. Nice. Emit script CSP nonces when unsafe inline if is present, if strict dynamic is also present. I've said this multiple times. I absolutely hate CSP. CSP stands for Content Security Policy, and it's just a mess. Like you basically are writing a long string that will set something. For example, unsafe inline means you don't want any inline style or any inline script, but it's very weird. Re-export browser dev from ESM env. This was to fix a problem in roll down. So before, if you open the PR, before we were doing stuff like this, like ESM env. We were importing browser and dev from ESM env, which is one of my favorite NPM packages, by the way, and then exporting them like this. But we could have done something like this, and now apparently this actually results in better tree shaking with roll down, and so we did it. Use validated args in batch resolver in both client-side routing and server-side routing. This is for the remote functions, obviously. Ensure CSS inlining includes components that are conditionally rendered. So like when you inline some CSS, if a component was conditionally rendered, CSS was not actually executed for that component, that was not actually pushed. Only match REST params with matchers when the matcher matches. that's actually. And by the way, I'm pretty sure that this was to fix an issue that was found by the creator of Svelte Changelog. Yes. Yeah. So this is Antoine, which is the creator of Svelte Changelog, which is this wonderful website that we're using. And he actually found out about this. And he said, I think I found a bug in SvelteKit. And I said, everybody thinks it does. But in this case, it was actually a bug in SvelteKit. Fix properly handle percent encoded anchors. Like if you have stuff like this, during pre-rendering, it was erroring out, probably trying to see if this was actually working. All right, we have SvelteKit. We have a new release of enhanced image, re-export picture from Vite image tools, which is the underlying library that enhanced image is using. We have a new release of the MCP, which is turn off no inspect in ESLint for MCP. So this is actually something that I did because technically, like we are using ESLint inside the MCP server to give you suggestions to the LLM, and I found like even if the LLM actually creates an inspect, it's probably fine. Like even if the the LLM add an inspect, that will still not show up in your production environment, and you can always remove it. But if it helps, it's better that we don't yell at the LLM for adding an inspect. We have 2 new releases of Svelte.js OpenCode, and you can see that one is actually 40 minutes ago, before this stream started, because like while the thumbnail was going, I was actually trying out this thing and actually push skill to the right config path. So like we have this OpenCode plugin is basically what you can use in OpenCode to have everything at your disposal. You can have basically, let me show you the documentation. Basically, you can have, you can just do this. Like if you want to set up OpenCode, you can just do this to your OpenCode config. And this will give you the MCP server, the skill, a sub-agent that will help you with your context, and now also, and the instruction file. It also has a configuration by itself. So like you can configure the things that you want to have, like the MCP, the sub-agent, the skills, and stuff like that. So this is the default one. Everything is allowed by default. And the thing that I just pushed before going live is that, so first thing first, now we also distribute skills. So when we create a new skill or the current skill in OpenCode, will actually be distributed through OpenCode. So like if you're using OpenCode, basically every time we publish a new skill, we will also publish a new OpenCode version, and you will get that version, that skill automatically. This was me having a mistake, doing a mistake. And the feature that I've actually included is to allow for local OpenCode config. And the reason for this is because right now you can only put the configuration, the Svelte configuration, inside your main folder. But in OpenCode, you can actually have a .opencode/folder inside the project with another config, and I wanted to also include that. So since I published this before going live, I could not test it, and so we're now gonna test it together. I shut off something that I was running. So let me do stuff hydratable. Um, First, let me verify that everything still works. So if everything still works when I do open code, now show, whoa. That's a problem. Okay, we cannot test it right now. I need to figure out later why it's not working. I'll fix it before, as soon as I go offline. We have the new version of the extension that has some perf, only parse HTML once in a batch update, support mnet extension pot config, custom element JSDoc documentation for completion hover, so like you also get completion and hover for custom elements, compatibility with prettier plugin Tailwind CSS in a monorepo, don't hoist type snippet referencing a store, tweak config to enable completion in JSDoc. Okay. We have 2 new releases of SV, but we will get to that later. Svelte check, just don't hoist type. Svelte language server is always the same, apply text synchronize change in order. And this is basically the same thing that the extensions come with. And Svelte TSX, same thing. Like those are always like, it's a batch of stuff. Now let's move to SV, but to actually talk about this, there is a guest that will join us, and please welcome Jean. Sorry, I need to unmute you in my control.
Hello,
Otherwise I
hello.
cannot hear you.
Hello, hello. Do you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you
Hi,
very,
Paulo.
maybe even too much. Let me let me let me quieten you.
Okay. Test 1, 2, test. Am I
Okay,
quiet?
this should be better.
Okay.
Obviously, guys, please let me know if it's too uh, if it's too.
Loud and clear.
Yeah,
Perfect.
exactly. All right, so Jean is here today because there is an exciting release of SV.
Yeah, exactly.
And he's gonna talk about it. I mean, let's actually read the changelog. I think you have it open, right?
Actually, I have it open. Maybe you want to have a look at it and
Yeah. So like
yeah.
we have, I mean, this is just the latest, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I saw that like I had two
Okay.
since the last one. So like there is able to fully set up Cloudflare adapter for workers page. I think this is something that basically like Cloudflare, if I'm not mistaken, recently shipped a way to basically like with one command set up bot for workers and for pages. And I think now SV is doing that, right?
Yeah, exactly. We follow this, yes.
Okay. But then there is a minor change, which is just the removing of Lucia from the official add-on. And some people might get pissed about this. Oh, our authentication. But
Yes.
we actually replaced it with something else because we've received a bunch of like we are friends with Pilcrow, and Lucia is very nice, but you had to do a lot of manual stuff, and there are alternatives now, and I've tried them like on first hand, and I agree that like it's a very nice library. So now instead of Lucia, when you want to add authentication, you will have an official adder for better out.
Yeah, better it is
Yeah,
here.
yeah,
So
better.
just for the Lucia fan, I would say Lucia style because it's not really a library, but
Yeah,
you can still use SV011. It
yeah,
doesn't go away. So if you want to add it in 2 seconds, you can still use this version. And that's why
yeah,
also we put it in the changelog so that it's easy to find.
yeah.
And yeah, maybe we can have a quick look at how the new better out is
Yes.
working. So you're probably used to this, but then I will just make it a bit bigger. npx sv and create. And when you do this, you have to give a name of a project. So I have a lot of project locally, which is number 55, let's say. And I will go with the minimal. I will select TypeScript. And in here, it's here that we have now better auth that we can select. Okay. By selecting this, we ask also if we want to include some demos. And by default, we have email and password because probably a lot of people can kick this out very quickly. But we can also select GitHub Auth, which enable to show you how you do any auth after you will go to their doc to add other things like
By the
GitHub.
way, I think like maybe if you zoom in just a tad bit, it's better. Yeah,
Better like that?
yeah, better.
And then since BetterAuth is requiring a database, automatically it's adding the Drizzle add-on. Okay, I didn't select Drizzle specifically, but then it's adding it automatically. And then here I will select SQLite. We'll go with Turso probably, yes. And at the end, of course, we ask what package manager you want to install. I will go with PNPM because it's supposed to be quite fast. Yes, it's quite fast. And then we have a nice recap to tell us, oh, what should we do? So we should go in our project as 55, we said, yes. And then maybe I can launch this in parallel, but I can read what are the different steps. So for the better auth add-on, we should run the auth schema, which is a script that we give you to generate the schema for this project. So let's just copy paste this.
And just to be clear, like this is very important. Like if you don't do this, it will not work.
Exactly.
So make sure that it is actually.
And you need also the second step actually, which is to DB push, because now that we have the schema, we have to push it now to the real database. So it's really important to read the doc. And there is something not working, of course, because we are in the demo mode.
I think you just need to change the document.
Right. So maybe we should change also the order of how the things are.
Yeah.
Let me show you in the code. In here also, can I zoom a bit maybe?
Yeah.
Zoom in. Let's remove these agent stuff. And in here in the .env, by default, we are linking to this libsql, but locally I will go probably with the file, right?
Yeah.
And now if I come back here and I push my changes to the database, do I want to execute all this? Yes. Okay. And now we can start our website. It's coming here. And then the final stuff that was explained was to say, so there is some env, okay? And then we can visit this demo page. So SV is putting a lot of demo page on some add-ons, and it will add here, so the better auth one, and then you will have it in the URL, of course, at the same time. And then you have these two options, so the logging with email password or the sign in with GitHub if you have the keys. So if I go at the bottom, you can see in the logs that we are missing some auth, but it's prepared for you, okay? And then in here, I can just enter my mail, password, maybe, and then KYC, register, and I'm connected. So all the wiring of front end, back end, and everything is done for you. You can just enjoy the code after that.
Yeah,
which is nice.
Yeah, that's very, very nice. So that's why we brought Jean with us to talk about this. I have to say, like, so like I kind of, so if you go to the Better Out documentation, you will see basically everywhere their client side out used, which, to be fair, I think is the wrong approach. Like you shouldn't have your authentication using JavaScript, not because it's problematic, but because like if someone wants to log into your website, they should probably be able to do it without even without before JavaScript loads. Let's say like this. And that's why in SV, you actually don't get a client, an out client, which might be confusing if you go into the documentation and everywhere there's out client. We will probably contribute a guide for Svelte and SvelteKit, but I think like I actually pushed for this. So if you want to blame someone, blame me. But in SV we don't have the client, but with the examples that you get, you can see that basically
Exactly.
you can just do it on the server side, which is much better because
So
when
it's
you have
something also that they provide. They don't prohibit it or something like this. It's just
yeah exactly like
not well
they
documented on their side that we
yeah
can probably improve in the future. But the
yeah
Auth API is here, and then everything is ready for you to just
yeah
enjoy.
exactly that's what I was that's what I meant for that. All right, I think that's actually it, guys. So like we
Yes.
ended with this like high note of better out. And by the
One,
way,
one single word because I see in the comment that can't wait for community add-on. It's coming one day.
soon TM.
Soon, TM.
All right, thank you very much, guys.
Thank
I
you.
hope you learned something, and I hope you enjoyed today this weekend's Svelte. And I'll see you guys next week. Bye
See
bye.
you. Bye bye.